Bimbo was terrified. A coffin? Why? She asked. Bimbo had always dreamed of living a life of luxury. She came from a very poor background and watched as other girls around her dated rich men who showered them with gifts, expensive clothes, and lavish trips. She wanted that too, but things were not easy for her. She didn't have the connections or the charm that some of the other girls seemed to have, and most men didn't pay her much attention. One day, Bimbo got a job as a personal assistant to a wealthy businessman named Mr. Adamu. He was a well-known figure in the city, and everyone admired his success. Bimbo saw this as her chance. She was determined to get Mr. Adamu to fall in love with her no matter what it took. Bimbo had heard stories about using juju, traditional charms or magic spells to get things you want in life, including love. She knew a local spiritualist someone had told her about, called Mama Iya, who was known for helping women charm rich men. Bimbo decided to pay her a visit. When she arrived at Mama Iya's shrine, she explained her situation. "Mama, I want Mr. Adamu to love me and spend money on me. Please help me," she begged. Mama Iya looked at Bimbo closely and nodded. "There is a way, but it is dangerous. Are you ready to do anything to get this man?" she asked. Without thinking twice, Bimbo nodded. She was ready to do whatever it took. Mama Iya handed her a small bottle of liquid and a charm. "Put this in his food and he will be yours. But be warned, you must renew the charm every 6 months or else it will stop working." Bimbo was excited. She couldn't believe how easy it sounded. She quickly took the charm without asking Mama Iya what the renewal of the charm would cost her in the next 6 months. She hurried home, made plans to put it in Mr. Adamu's food the next day. The charm worked like magic. A few days after she put it in Mr. Adamu's food, he started paying extra attention to Bimbo. He began gifting her gifts, taking her to expensive restaurants, and even talking about buying her a car. Bimbo couldn't believe her luck. It was as if it was a switch that has been flipped, and suddenly she had everything she ever wanted. She moved into a beautiful apartment that Mr. Adamu paid for, and her life seemed perfect. Bimbo felt like she was living in a dream, and she loved every minute of it. But 6 months passed, and quickly it was time for her to renew the charm. Bimbo had almost forgotten about Mama Iya's warning. She was so caught up in her new lifestyle that she didn't think about the consequences. When she went back to Mama Iya, the spiritualist gave her new instructions. This time, you must sleep in a coffin for 3 nights if you want to keep the charm working. Mama Iya said in a very serious tone. Bimbo was terrified. "A coffin? Why?" she asked. Mama Iya explained that the spirits needed something stronger to keep the charm going. Bimbo hesitated, but in the end, her greed for more money and luxury won. She agreed to the strange and scary task. The first night in the coffin was unbearable. Bimbo couldn't sleep. The smell of death surrounded her, and she felt like she was being watched by invisible eyes. She regretted coming to the shrine, but she had already made her choice. There was no turning back. The second night was worse. Bimbo started hearing strange noises, whispers, and footsteps. Even though she was alone in the dark room, she tried to tell herself it was just her imagination, but fear gripped her heart. By the third night, Bimbo was completely exhausted. Her mind was playing tricks on her, and she felt like she was losing her sanity. She finished the ritual but swore never to do anything like that again. After completing the ritual, the charm worked again. This time, times 5 of what it worked the first time. Mr. Adamu continued to lavish Bimbo with gifts, money and affection. But something wasn't right. Bimbo noticed that she was beginning to smell bad. She was smelling so bad that no matter how much perfume she used, that smell did not go. The smell increased day by day. She could even take her bath up to 10 times in a day. But no matter what she did, the odor was still there. She couldn't figure out why. Her friends and even Mr. Adamu started keeping their distance from her. The charm might have been working, but something else was going very wrong with Bimbo. Then came the worst news of all. Bimbo started feeling weak and sick all the time. She visited the hospital and after several tests, she was diagnosed with HIV. Her world came crashing down. Bimbo couldn't believe it. How had this happened? She realized that her obsession with getting Mr. Adamu had led her to make bad choices, and now she was paying the price. In her desperate search for wealth and love, she had contracted a deadly disease. As Bimbo's health declined, it became harder for her to maintain the charm. Remember, she was supposed to go for her renewal of charm every 6 months, but because of her health challenges, she wasn't able to meet up. She couldn't meet Mami Iya's demands anymore. The spiritualist had told her that the charm needed constant renewal, but Bimbo was too weak and scared to go back to that shrine. Without the renewal, Mr. Adamu began to lose interest in her. He started spending less time with her and eventually stopped giving her money. The charm had worn off, and now Bimbo was left with nothing. No money, no love, and her health was deteriorating rapidly, and she continued to smell badly. She quickly ran back to Mami Iya's shrine. Desperate and scared, Bimbo tried to confront Mami Iya, and she said to her, "Mama, everything is going wrong. I am smelling badly. Mr. Adamu no longer loves me. He no longer gives me money or attention. What do I do?" And Mami Iya responded, "I told you there will be consequences if you didn't follow the instructions. You didn't come on time for your 6 months renewal of charm. And now the spirits are angry with you. That is why you have been smelling really bad, Bimbo. There is nothing I can do. Once the spirits are angry with you, they will strike you with one sickness or the other. And now there is no turning back." Bimbo was now alone, broke and sick. Her once glamorous life had turned into a nightmare. She had lost everything in her pursuit for a man who never truly loved her. A man she used charm on. And to make matters worse, she had contracted HIV from Mr. Adamu. Bimbo knew she had to do something to save her life, but it seemed too late. One day, while lying in bed feeling hopeless, she remembered an old friend, Ada, who had always tried to warn her about using charms. Ada was a strong Christian and had always told Bimbo that there was a way better to find love and happiness. With nowhere else to turn, Bimbo reached out to Ada. She explained everything, how she used the juju, how her health had deteriorated, how she is smelling, and how she had lost everything. Ada was shocked but didn't judge her. Instead, she offered to help her. Ada took Bimbo to her pastor, who prayed for her and gave her advice on how to start a new life. They encouraged her to seek medical treatment for her HIV and assured her that she could still live a fulfilling life if she took care of her health. Bimbo was hesitant at first, But she realized she had no other choice. She started taking her medications. She joined a support group. Gradually, she stopped smelling and got her body back. And she began to turn her life around. Slowly. It was a bright sunny day in Bukuma, a small village surrounded by green hills. Naya, a young lady with a beautiful smile, was washing her clothes by the riverside when her mother called her. "Naya, come! I have big news," her mother shouted from their little mud house. Naya quickly stood up, wiped her hands on her dress, and ran back to the house. She found her mother smiling widely. "Zoma has asked for your hand in marriage," her mother said. Naya's heart skipped a beat. Zoma, the love of her life, was finally going to be her husband. Naya couldn't believe it. She loved Zoma so much. He was strong, tall, and handsome, and they had been together for years. The thought of becoming his wife made her heart dance. But little did Naya know, a big challenge was waiting for her. One evening, Naya's mother sat down with her by the fireside. She said to her, "Naya, before you marry Zoma, there is something important you need to know." Naya looked at her mother, confused. "Our tradition says that your elder sister Lina must go to bed with your husband-to-be Zoma before the marriage," her mother explained. Naya's eyes grew wide. "Go to bed with him? How?" Her mother sighed. "Lina must make sure that Zoma's manhood is good enough for you. It's the way of our people. It's the tradition of Bukoma." Naya felt a cold shiver run down her spine. She loved her sister, but this doesn't feel right. Naya couldn't sleep that night. She kept thinking about what her mother had said. The idea of Lina testing Zoma's manhood made her feel so uncomfortable. How could her sister be involved in something so private? How could Bukoma bring up such a tradition? A tradition that says my sister must sleep with my husband-to-be before getting married to me. The next morning, she decided to talk to Lina, her sister. Maybe she could convince her not to go through with it. After all, she has heard that if the sister of the bride-to-be refuses to do it, then they can go ahead with the marriage without her having to test the groom's manhood. Naya found Lina by the riverside. She looked nervous. Lina was Naya's elder sister. She was calm and beautiful, with long hair that flowed like the wind. "Lina," Naya began, "Mama told me about the test, that you have to test Zoma's manhood before I get married to him." Lina looked up, her smile growing wider. "Ah, yes, the test," she said almost playfully. Naya swallowed hard. "Do you really want to do it?" Lina chuckled softly. "Oh, Naya, you don't understand. Zoma is a fine man. I've been admiring him for a long time." Naya felt a lump in her throat. "What do you mean?" Lina leaned closer, her eyes glinting with something Naya couldn't quite place. "I've always liked Zoma. He's strong, handsome, and kind. Maybe after the test, he'll realize he prefers me." Naya's heart dropped. Her own sister was interested in Zoma. This was worse than she had imagined. Naya rushed to Zoma's farm that evening, with tears in her eyes. She found him tending to his crops, his shirt soaked with sweat from the day's work. "Zoma," she said with her voice shaking, "Lina wants to test you, and she's been admiring you. I was expecting her to turn down the manhood test, but she's interested in it." Zoma looked at her, shocked. "What? Why would she say that?" She said maybe after the test, you might prefer her. Naya said. Zoma pulled Naya close, wiping her tears. Naya, I love you. Only you. I would never choose Lina over you. But deep down, Naya still worried. Lina was beautiful, confident and smart. What if Zoma started to have feelings for her? Days passed and the day of the test grew closer. Naya tried to distract herself with wedding preparations, but the thought of Lina being alone with Zoma kept her mind hanging. She said to herself, how can my sister test my husband's to-be's manhood before me? Lina, on the other hand, seemed excited. She would hum to herself as she got ready, her eyes twinkling whenever she mentioned Zoma's name. Naya knew her sister was serious about this. As the day of the testing arrived, Naya couldn't stand by and do nothing. She needed to find a way to stop Lina. She decided to speak to the village elders. Maybe they could help. But when she explained her concerns, the elders simply said, this is the way of our people, Naya. We cannot change what has been done for generations. The only person that can help you out of this situation is your sister, Lina. If she refuses to do the test, then you can go ahead with the marriage. But if she doesn't, there is nothing we can do. Meanwhile, Zoma was torn. He respected Naya's family and their traditions, but he didn't want to hurt Naya. He loved her deeply and didn't want to be a part of something that would cause her pain. He thought about refusing the test altogether. But what if that caused trouble with Naya's family? He didn't want to offend anyone. The day of the test finally arrived. Naya's heart was pounding in her chest as she watched Lina walk towards the small hut where the test would take place. Zoma was already inside waiting. Lina wore her finest dress and had braided her hair in a beautiful style. She looked like she was going to a celebration, not a manhood test. Naya stood at a distance, feeling sick with worry. Inside the hut, Zoma sat on a wooden stool, nervous and uneasy. The dim light of the single oil lamp flickered against the mud walls, casting long shadows. He could hear Lina's footsteps approaching, her sandals tapping softly against the ground. He wiped the sweat from his brow, trying to calm his racing heart. The door opened, and there stood Lina, her smile bright and confident. She stepped inside, her eyes locked with Zoma. Well, Zoma, she said. Her voice was smooth and playful. Are you ready for the manhood test? Zoma stood up, his heavy heart. Lina, I don't think this is right. Lina walked closer, her smile widening. It's just tradition, Zoma. You don't want to disrespect our customs, do you? Besides, this is an opportunity for me to be with you. I have admired you for long. My sister has always been the one with you. See how fate has brought you right into my arms, my dear Zoma. Zoma shifted uncomfortably. But this tradition, it's not about respect anymore. It's about hurting your sister Naya. I love her. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. Lina's eyes narrowed slightly, though her smile never faded. Oh, but you see, Zoma, this test isn't just about you proving something. It's about what I want. I've admired you for a long time. Maybe after tonight, you will see that I am a better choice than my sister. Outside the hut, Naya paced back and forth, her stomach in knots. She couldn't stand the thought of what was happening inside. Every time she tried to imagine it, her heart ached. What if Lina really managed to take Zoma away from her? Naya's mind raced. She needed to do something. But what? The village elders had made it clear that they wouldn't intervene. She couldn't let this tradition ruin her love with Zoma. There had to be a way to stop it before it was too late. As the minutes passed, Naya could take it no longer. She rushed towards the hut, her legs moving before her mind could catch up. She burst through the door, her chest heaving with fear and anger. "Lina, stop!" Naya's voice was sharp, echoing through the small room. Both Lina and Zoma turned to look at her, startled. "Naya?" Zoma asked, relief flooding his face. "What are you doing here?" Lina straightened, her face calm but her eyes flashing with frustration. "Naya, this is between Zoma and me. You know the rules." "No, Lina," Naya said, her voice trembling but strong. "This isn't right. You can't use tradition to take something that doesn't belong to you." Lina's smile faltered for the first time. "I'm not taking anything. I'm following our customs, the same customs you agreed to." Naya's fist clenched at her sides. "No, I didn't agree to this. And Zoma is not some prize for you to win. I love him and he loves me too." Lina's eyes narrowed. "Are you saying you don't trust him to pass the manhood test?" "It's not about trust," Naya said. "It's about love, respect, and knowing that this tradition is wrong. You are my sister, Lina. How could you try to take away the one person who makes me happy?" For a long moment, the room was silent. Lina's eyes dropped to the floor, her face softening, like she has realized her mistakes. "You are right, Naya," she finally said. "I've always been the one who got attention. I was always the beautiful, confident one. But when I saw how happy you were with Zoma, I felt jealous." Naya blinked, stunned by her sister's confession. She had always looked up to Lina, but she had never imagined Lina would feel jealous of her. "I thought," Lina continued, her voice heavy with guilt, "if I could make Zoma notice me, maybe I'll feel better about myself. But now I see that was wrong, and I've been selfish." Lina walked over to Naya and took her hands in her own. "I'm sorry, Naya. I've been so focused on what I wanted that I forgot how much you love Zoma. I won't go through with the manhood test anymore. I will tell Mama and the elders that it's not happening." Naya looked into her sister's eyes and saw the sincerity there. Tears welled up in her own eyes as she nodded. "Thank you, Lina," Naya whispered, her heart filled with relief. "I forgive you." Lina smiled sadly. "I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I will make it up to you, I promise." Zoma, who had been watching quietly, stepped forward and wrapped his arms around Naya. "I'm glad this is over," he said softly. "I only want to be with you, Naya." The next morning, Lina and Naya went together to meet with the village elders. Lina spoke up, explaining that she had decided not to go through with the tests. The elders were surprised, but they listened as Lina shared how she felt the tradition was no longer necessary. "Zoma had already proven himself," Lina said. "He doesn't need to be tested by me. Naya and Zoma's love is enough." The elders murmured among themselves before finally nodding in agreement. "Perhaps it's time to let go of some of the old ways." One of the elders said, "Love should be based on trust, not tests." Word spread quickly throughout the village that the tradition of testing would no longer be followed. Some of the elders were resistant at first, but seeing the strength of Naya and Zoma's love convinced them that things needed to change. Naya felt a great weight lift off her shoulders. For the first time in days, she could look forward to her wedding without fear or worry. With the testing behind them, Naya and Zoma could focus on their wedding. The whole village joined in to help with the preparations. Women from the village bought colorful fabrics for Naya's wedding dress, and the men gathered together to build a large shelter for the celebration. Naya was filled with joy as she and Zoma prepared for their big day. They spent their evenings together, talking and laughing, dreaming about their future as husband and wife. Lina worked tirelessly to help with the wedding preparations. She wanted to make up for the hurt she had caused her sister. She decorated the venue with flowers and made sure the food was ready, and even helped Naya choose her jewelry. "I want this day to be perfect for you," Lina told Naya as they worked together on the final touches for the wedding. Naya could see the effort her sister was making and was grateful for her support. Finally, the day of the wedding arrived. The sun shone brightly, and the air was filled with the sound of singing and drumming. Naya looked radiant in her dress, and Zoma's smile never left his face as he stood waiting for her. Everyone was excited. There was a lot of drumming, singing, dancing, eating, and whining. After the wedding, Lina pulled Naya aside. She handed her a small basket filled with colorful beads. "This is for you," Lina said. "A gift to remind you that I will always support you no matter what." Naya smiled and hugged her sister tightly. "Thank you, Lina. I love you." "I love you too," Lina said. As the months passed, Naya and Zoma began to build their life together. They worked side by side on the farm, planting crops and tending to the animals. They laughed, they argued, they grew closer with every passing day. Their love blossomed like the flowers in their garden, strong and beautiful. Lina visited often, always bringing gifts or helping with whatever needed to be done. She became a pillar of support for Naya and Zoma, proving that her apology was sincere. The sisters grew closer than ever, bonded by their shared experience. One day, Naya found out she was expecting a baby. The news filled their small home with joy. Zoma was happy, and Lina promised to be the best aunt ever. They celebrated with the whole village, knowing that this new life would bring even more happiness into their world. As Naya looked around at her family, she realized how far they had all come. The old tradition that had once threatened to tear them apart had now been replaced with love, trust, and understanding. Kelechi would quietly leave her home to the river. Adogo secretly followed. Kelechi noticed some footsteps behind her. She turned to check, but she didn't see anybody. Kelechi actually hid in the bushes. She stayed there until she was sure that nobody was. Amodo was a village filled with hard-working people. Among the villagers was a girl called Kelechi, who was known for her beauty and grace. She was kind to all, her smile brightening even the darkest days. But there was one thing about Kelechi that no one in the village could understand. She only took her bath at midnight. At the stroke of midnight, when the villagers slept, Kelechi would quietly leave her home and make her way to the river bank. Everyone in the village wondered why Kelechi never takes her bath at the river during the day, just like the other girls. In the village of Amodo, girls often visit the river during the day, fetch water, wash their clothes, play in the river, and even take their baths. The only girl that doesn't do that is Kelechi. And they keep asking themselves, why is Kelechi not always joining us at the river? What is she even avoiding? Kelechi never gets to be seen during the day at the river. They kept on wondering and asking, but nobody knew why Kelechi never visited the river during the day. A young lady in the village called Adugo realized how Kelechi never takes her baths, and she was determined to find out why she never took her bath during the day and just at midnight. Adugo decided that she would follow Kelechi one night to find out what exactly she does at the river at midnight and what is so special about her not taking her bath during the day. So, the next day, Adugo secretly followed Kelechi because once it is 12 p.m. at night, Kelechi will quietly leave her home to the river. Adugo secretly followed Kelechi. While they were on their way, Kelechi noticed some footsteps behind her. She turned to check, but she didn't see anybody. But in her heart, she already knew that someone was following her. And immediately, Kelechi diverted to another road, following a road that doesn't lead to the river. And Adugo lost track of her because she couldn't even see Kelechi anymore. Her plan has failed. Meanwhile, Kelechi actually hid in the bushes. She stayed there until she was sure that nobody was around, and she quietly sneaked out of the bush into the river to take her bath as usual. Even Kelechi's mother, Ngozi, who adored her daughter so much, was troubled. She wondered why her daughter never takes her baths. She knew there was something wrong about Kelechi, but she decided not to bother. After all, she was her daughter. Guess what? Ngozi also has a secret that she has promised not to reveal to anyone. A secret she has kept since the day Kelechi was born. You see, Kelechi was no ordinary girl. She was a gift from the goddess of the river, given to Ngozi when she had wept by the water, praying for a child to fill her emptiness. The goddess heard her cry and appeared one fateful night, shimmering like the moon on the river's surface. Kelechi will be yours, the goddess had said. Her voice was sharp, but she belongs to the river. She must never be touched by water during the day, or the secret of her true nature will be revealed. She may only return to the river at midnight, when the world sleeps and the spirits of the water are free. Ngozi had agreed, too overwhelmed with joy at the thought of having a daughter to ask too many questions. And so Kelechi grew up, beautiful and beloved, but always keeping her distance from the river during the day. She never complained, never asked why, for deep down, she knew there was something about her that had tied her to the water in a way that no one else could understand. But her younger brother, Okechi, was not so easily fooled. He had always admired his sister, but recently, he noticed the change in her behavior. She seemed distant, lost in her thoughts, and always disappeared at night. Determined to protect her, Okechi decided to follow her one night to find out where she went and what secrets she was hiding. That night, as the village slept, Okechi crept after his sister. He watched as Kelechi moved silently through the dark, her white wrapper glowing in the moonlight. She walked with purpose, her steps leading her directly to the river. Okechi hid behind a tree, peeking out as Kelechi stood by the water's edge. Suddenly, Kelechi began to change. Her legs shimmered, and before Okechi's eyes, they fused together to form a long tail that has shiny scales. Her skin glowed, and her hair seemed to float around as if it were alive. She was no longer the girl Okechi knew, but a mermaid, a creature of the river. Okechi gasped in shock, but Kelechi did not hear him. She slipped into the water, her body moving gracefully as she swam deeper into the river. Okechi watched as she disappeared beneath the surface, and for a moment, he thought he had lost her. But then, from the center of the river, he saw more figures emerging. Other mermaids, their laughter echoing softly in the night air. Kelechi swam among them, her face full of joy as she greeted her companions. They spoke in a language Okechi could not understand, their voices like the song of the river itself. For hours, they swam and danced in the water, their movements synchronized like a beautiful dance. As the clock neared 3 a.m., Kelechi began to leave the water, her tail turning back into legs as she walked onto the shore. She looked peaceful, her face serene, as if the river had washed away all her worries. She dressed quickly and returned to the village, unaware that her brother had seen everything. Okechi, shocked by what he had witnessed, returned home, his mind racing. How could his sister be both human and mermaid? What did it mean? And what will happen if the villagers find out? The next morning, Okechi confronted Kelechi. "Sister," he began, his voice trembling, "I know your secrets. I saw you at the riverbank last night." Kelechi's face went pale. She had feared this day would come, but she had not expected it to be soon. "Okechi, you must not tell anyone," she whispered. "If the villagers find out, they will be afraid of me. They will think I am cursed." "But you are not cursed," Okechi said. "You are not, my dear sister. You are just a mermaid. But then, how is this possible?" Kelechi sighed, tears welling up in her eyes. "It is true. I am not fully human. I was given to Mama by the river goddess. I am tied to the water, and that is why I can only bath at night. If water touches me during the day, my true form will be revealed. I cannot let that happen, Okechi." Okechi listened, his heart heavy with the weight of her words. He realized how much his sister had sacrificed to live a normal life in the village. He had always known there was something special about her, but he never imagined it would be this. "I won't tell anyone," he promised. "But why do you keep going back to the river? What happens there?" Kelechi smiled sadly. "I go to the river to be with my kind, the mermaids. It's the only time I feel like myself, where I don't have to hide. But I also go to fulfill the promise Mama made to the goddess. The river is my home, Okechi, but I don't belong fully there or here. That's why I must keep my secrets." As the days passed, Okechi kept his promise, and Kelechi continued her midnight visits to the river. But the peace won't last. One night, as Kelechi made her way to the river, that Adugo that came the first time spotted her again. She followed her to the river, hiding in the shadows, just as Okechi had done before. This time, Adugo succeeded. When she saw Kelechi transform into a mermaid, she was horrified. She ran back to the village, spreading rumors of witchcraft and curses. By morning, the whole village was in an uproar. "Kelechi is a spirit. She has been deceiving us all," Adugo cried. Some wanted her banished from the village. Others whispered about sending her back to the river for good. The villagers gathered at the village square, and Kelechi being in their middle. Adugo went home, took a water in her pot, ran back to the village square and poured it on Kelechi. And instantly, Kelechi's legs turned into a mermaid. It became a shimmering tail, shining so glowing and bright. Kelechi started pleading, "Please do not harm me. Please, I cannot survive with this tail if I am not in the water. I beg you, I am not a witch. This is just the way I was born." Fearing for her daughter's life, Ngozi begged the village elders to let Kelechi be. "She is not a witch," she said, her voice shaking. "She was a gift from the river goddess, born out of my pain and sorrow. She has done no harm to anyone." Adugo started shouting, "No, she is cursed. Can't you see that she has a fish tail? She is a witch. She doesn't belong here." "I am not a witch," Kelechi said. "I am part of the river. I'm part of this land. I never meant to deceive anyone. The river is my home, but so is this village. All I ask is to be allowed to live in peace. Please, my villagers." The villagers murmured among themselves, unsure of what to believe. But Okechi stepped forward, standing beside his sister. "She is our family," he said. "She has lived among us all these years without causing harm. Let her be." After much debate, the village elders made their decision. Kelechi will be allowed to stay. So, they decided to take Kelechi with her fish tail back to the river, because that is the only way she can survive with the tail and then transform back to human. They lifted Kelechi up, carrying her to the river, and she swam into the river, and within a few minutes, she came out of the river and transformed back with legs. The villagers concluded that since she was of no harm to the village, they would let her be. Adugo watched in shame, because she was the one that exposed Kelechi in the first place. Seeing that her plan of getting rid of Kelechi did not work, she decided to plead with her for forgiveness. "I'm sorry, Kelechi. I didn't mean any harm. I was just curious to know why exactly you took your bath in the midnight. Besides, you are the most beautiful maiden in this village, and I was jealous of your look, so I had to find out why you always took your bath in the midnight, only to find out that you are a mermaid. I'm sorry, Kelechi." And Kelechi responded, "It's okay, Adugo. I understand." The village of Amudo respected Kelechi's true nature. They were no longer surprised to see Kelechi visit the river at the midnight, because they already know why, and everyone lived in peace and harmony. Dear viewers, we all have secrets and parts of ourselves that we hide from the world. But true acceptance comes from being honest with those we love and finding a balance between who we are and where we belong. Thank you so much for listening to my story. My name is Onyi of Onyi Stories and Folktales. And please, if you haven't subscribed, kindly click on the subscribe button. Turn on the notifications so when I post more stories, you get to see them. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your support. I do not take it for granted. And if you can still hear my voice to this time, it means you heard the story to the end. You are the real MVP. Thank you for your support. I do not take it for granted. See you in my next video. Bye-bye.